Hello peoples, Bubba Ace here, and welcome to the special Ninja Warrior of Roblox video. Based on the title, you can already guess what this video is about. It's about gross sodas. Wait. While we await for the premiere of Tournament 21, I thought it'd be a good idea to do another top 10 like video. Or in this case, top 20, as opposed to the other top 10 like video, which was a top 25, but that's besides the point. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to be ranking each of the 20 tournaments that have already aired, starting from what I consider to be the worst, and work my way towards to what I consider to be the best. I'm going to be taking into account the results of each tournament, the good and bad of each tournament, such as what I liked about filming each tournament, and what I hated about filming each tournament, anything fun about certain competitors, and anything I could wish I could forget about certain competitors, the quality of each tournament video, as well as editing each tournament video. Now keep in mind, this is all based on the opinion on the guy who created this show and has had to do a lot with each tournament. If you actually like any of the tournaments that I personally hate, or at least find to be the least good, that's fine. Also, if you hate any of the tournaments that I personally like, that's also fine. So without further ado, let's get this started. This is rating the 20 Ninja Warrior Roblox tournaments from worst to best. Hope you enjoy. Kicking off the list is Tournament 9, which was filmed in April of 2014. This one is what I consider to be the worst for the following reasons. 1. It was a bloodbath, as only 3 competitors cleared Stage 1, and no one cleared Stage 2. 2. I used the spectator man to record each run. I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea. Maybe I just wanted to try recording runs that way to see if it would be a lot easier, since I wouldn't have to worry about lag or suddenly stop flying due to accidentally turning it off because some idiot thought double tapping the jump button was a good idea! But in the end, I didn't like that format since we couldn't see any potential mistakes made by competitors or if an obstacle malfunctioned, namely the flow pattern of the jumping spider, and other reasons I don't really recall. The only good things I can say about this tournament is, 1. Actually using the intro to show short replays of the previous episode, as opposed to a previous tournament where I just kept repeating what happened in Tournament 7. 2. An all-star made it to Stage 2 and finished in first place. 3. I had co-commentators for each episode of this tournament, with the exception of the finale. And 4. This was the first tournament to show the bonus runs. Other than that, I'd rather have this tournament be in my memory as a bad fever dream. Coming in at number 19 is Tournament 8, which was filmed in February 2014. A lot of you probably saw this coming, but most likely at the number 20 spot. But I'll get to why I put this at number 19 in just a minute. First, I'm going to say what I liked about this tournament. It was the first tournament of the Demon's Revenge era, following the tournament victory that preceded this tournament, with a complete course renewal and only a few obstacles being retained from the previous era. Not taking the Stage 1 clears into account, the last man standing finished in first place. And personally, I like it when the last man standing finishes in first. Now, before anyone calls me biased or that I planned it that way, this was around the time when the run order was based on how competitors did in the qualifiers. And random numbers were given to random competitors that would have otherwise been bonus runs, although bonus runs didn't happen until the following tournament. Anyway, the bad things about this tournament, it was the second ever bloodbath tournament, with only 3 competitors clearing Stage 1, none of which were stars, and they all went out on Stage 2. Even worse, only 2 of those 3 actually ran Stage 2, while the third dropped out of the competition shortly after clearing Stage 1. Only 6 competitors got past the halfway point of Stage 1, which was past the jumping spider. This was the first version of it, by the way. And it ended the Stage 1 clear streak of then new star Dusklord 10. Not helping with the fact the time limit wasn't very lenient. Now with all these cons in place, why is it a spot higher on the list? Well, with this tournament being a course renewal, and most of the obstacles were designed to where you had to get a good running jump, which was uncommon on Roblox at the time, In fact, only one other Roblox course before this had obstacles that required you to get a good running jump, and that was owned by Sensei. Anyway, with this course renewal, I expected the course to do a lot of damage for this particular tournament. Albeit more than I expected, and perhaps I went a little too far looking back, but regardless, not many competitors knew how to handle the new obstacles, while in Tournament 9, all but one of the obstacles were retained and made the same, and the time limit was longer. And although more competitors got past the halfway point of Stage 1 that tournament, with 14 as opposed to 6, the final results didn't change, showing that they didn't put in enough practice to handle the obstacles. That said though, I can still understand if other people considered this tournament to be worse than Tournament 9. At number 18 is the very first tournament, which was filmed in March of 2013. Where do I start with this one? Oh, I know. How about the fact that none of the episodes were full screen? In fact, I think the first episode has the lowest screen resolution of them all. The first episode's intro music was so silent you could practically hear the crickets more. There weren't actually crickets, I just played that sound just to prove a point. My commentary was an absolute dumpster fire, since I can't improv if my life depended on it. Competitors will have to face certain difficult obstacles, starting in Stage 1, before making their way to the final tower. And I seem to lack the knowledge of knowing I can zoom in all the way to record runs, as evident by the first few runs. I learned later, but again, that's besides the point. And just look at the course! Good God, I mean, imagine this being the first Roblox Ninja course you ever ran. Nowadays, an obstacle course on Roblox looking this piss-poor in quality, that isn't an obby, would never be excusable. Oh, and I did the order Stage 2 runs the same as American Ninja Warrior did their Stage 2 run order at the time, from slowest to fastest. Now, of course, a lot of jumping courses didn't have the best pilot tournaments, and almost all of them start with very few competitors. Keyword being almost. This one was no exception, as it had 15. And I believe this course only got as popular as it did is because it came out at the most convenient time, and it was the first Roblox course on YouTube to have obstacle graphics on screen, and not just a timer. Plus, the ninja community on Roblox was still pretty young, so it was a lot more appealing to that demographic at that time. So while a majority of people in the community at that time have gotten older, and a majority of them have moved on, this tournament in particular definitely aged like milk. In at number 17 is Tournament 3, which was filmed in May of 2013. This tournament, entitled Reality Pales, as the first ever All-Star of the course. It also saw the most success in Stages 2, 3, and 4, seeing 23 out of the 45 competitors who competed in this tournament clear Stage 1, 18 of those 23 clearing Stage 2, 9 of those 18 clearing Stage 3, and 4 of those 9 clearing Stage 4. That success, however, in addition to the god-awful commentary and poor choice of music for the content theme, is the main problem with this tournament. You see, just before this tournament was filmed, jumping physics on Roblox were changed to allow you to jump higher and further. As a result, it made doing the obstacles much easier than originally intended, and that's why we saw so many people clearing. Granted, the new jumping physics didn't have much effect on Stage 4, but that doesn't change the fact that, at the end of the day, 4 champions were crowned in that tournament. So instead of delaying the tournament to up the difficulty of the course due to the new jumping physics, because I was too nice back then, I proceeded as planned. Looking back, I'm regretting not making the course a bit harder. Coming in at number 16 is Tournament 16, which was filmed in the summer of 2016. I don't recall if it was in June or July. But anyway, this tournament featured one of the best saves on the course by Enderman Yes Squid No. He, failed to— oh, he's gonna— whoa! What the? What say? And one of the funniest bloopers by Dr. PP.
Yeah.
Do you see your cheering squad, Phil?
Yes, I see.
And also, competitor Aussie Bro would go on to become the second competitor in NWoR Roblox history to clear Stage 1 for 5 consecutive tournaments. Not to mention, the guy who had provided the obstacle graphic from tournaments 10 to 16, the timer from tournaments 12 to 17, and other graphics from tournament 12 onward, was given the opportunity to edit the runs for this tournament, and did a good job at that. That said, the few good things about this tournament don't outweigh the cons of this tournament by a long shot. For one thing, filming for this tournament was delayed due to decal glitches, so I had to spend a day or two fixing those. Even then I missed a few bugs. And in Stage 1, the people who got past the jumping spider would either end up clearing Stage 1 or failing the Pillars of Doom, with the exception of 3. So it wasn't all that exciting. Also, the final outcome wasn't that much different for Tournament 15, as only one competitor got past the 6 flags, and almost everyone else failed the 6 flags. Plus, the people who helped manage Tournament 15 decided to back down on Tournament 16, leaving me to handle the chaos that would ensue alone. Not to mention, large gaps in between episodes of this tournament, as this was the point in my YouTube career where I was getting tired of working on this series, and I began shifting my focus to my food and drink reviews before I realized that people's only cared about NWoR Roblox, and practically no one will care if I stop doing food and drink reviews in general. So I had to get the peoples what they came here for, and thus turn this tournament into a chore from constant demand. On top of all that, well, maybe the second biggest thing, since I'm pretty certain that the decal glitch was a bigger concern. Anyway, this tournament also marked the retirement of Grand Champions Bunpei Shiratori, NWoR Sasuke, and Reality Pales, with the latter of the three going out on Stage 1, while the other two would clear Stage 1, but then go out on Stage 2. All in all, this was basically a repeat of Tournament 15, but with more bullcrap. The 15th spot goes to Tournament 5, which was filmed in July of 2013. This was the first tournament of the Rise of the Demon era, following NWoR Sasuke's win in Tournament 4. Oh wow, a total victory in a 4th tournament? Who would have seen that coming? Anyway, what did I like about this tournament? Well, it was the first ever 100 competitor tournament. Not just for NWoR Roblox, but for any Roblox Ninja course in general, which was a huge achievement at the time. And unlike Tournament 4, this was an actual course renewal that wasn't just replacing a few obstacles. Even though it retained 7, 4 of those 7 were redesigned entirely, while the other 3 were unchanged. The 4 redesigned obstacles were the Rolling Boulder, the Danger Climb, the Salmon Ladder, and the Spider Walk. The unchanged obstacles were the Dancing Stones, the Great Wall, and the Unsteady Planks. So overall, this felt like a new course that was actually challenging in more ways than one. But maybe a little too challenging at the time. The only 6 competitors cleared Stage 1, All-Star Reality Pales not being one of them, and his Stage 1 clear streak ended. But on the plus side, All-Star Kyle Ninja 3970 would become the second competitor to clear Stage 1 for 4 consecutive tournaments. This tournament would also go on to be the first ever Bloodbath tournament, as all 6 would go out on Stage 2, with only one of those 6 getting to the second to last obstacle of Stage 2. Now come to think of it, all the Bloodbath tournaments of this course would end on the second to last obstacle of Stage 2.
Coincidence? I think not!
This was also the tournament that officially introduced the Demon, which is one of those things that you thought was fun for the time and at the time, but regret doing years later. Yet can't really do a thing to change that. So yeah, despite the things I liked about this tournament, it would go on to be one of my least favorite tournaments, as I didn't get the results I expected or wanted, and it would remain in my memory in infamy. And at number 14 is Tournament 15, which was filmed in February 2016. The only good things I liked about this tournament were the new Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger, which was basically the Mega Incline Cliffhanger introduced in Tournament 12, but with an extra ledge at the end, and a 180-degree jump, and smaller ledges. And it would go on to become arguably the most iconic cliffhanger on this course, but that's irrelevant. Anyway, I also liked the introduction of the original Trust Junction before it was redesigned in Tournament 16, for reasons I don't recall, the buffed Thin Path, and the modified Bar Dropper, which was sadly never attempted. I also liked having extra help in managing this tournament, and help keeping competitors in check, which I'm still thankful for. And the last thing I like about this tournament is it was the first time since Tournament 3 that Aussie Bro would advance to Stage 3. Now, what did I hate about this tournament? Well, it ended Faripu's Stage 1 clear streak, it would inadvertently begin the downfall of Reality Pales, and it would begin the trend of the Six Flags doing the most damage in Stage 3. So to say that this tournament, at least for me, was a bit of a letdown, despite the good things that happened during it, would be an understatement. And that's probably what led to the extra help I had for this tournament and backing out afterwards. And I'm blaming it all on this tournament. Now we're getting to the tournaments that I actually liked, starting with the next spot on this list, Tournament 19, which was filmed in August 2017. This would be the first and only tournament that would feature the unreleased spin-off series American Ninja Warrior of Roblox, hosted by me and Reality Pales. Mostly Reality Pales. And even though American Ninja Warrior of Roblox would never be released, we at least got to see the 10 that made it and do well on the course. 2 in particular, but still well. It would also feature former star Lord_Dusk, formerly known as Dusklord 10, make a grand return to the course, and be one of the 10 American Ninja Warrior Roblox competitors. And it'd be the final tournament that would surpass the 100 competitor limit, as by the end of it, I'd be caught up with an even number of competitors. And it would also be the first time that only main accounts would clear Stage 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then good. The less you know, the better. That said, though, there were a few shortcomings in this tournament. For one thing, only 2 competitors got past Stage 2. Granted, they were the only 2 American Ninja Warrior Roblox competitors who cleared Stage 1, so they proved that they deserved their spot in the top event. But this tournament would also be the 4th time that a tournament would end with no one getting past the Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger. It had a very unsatisfying Ninja Warrior Roblox versus, and looking back, the course design felt a bit uninspiring. I mean, the trusses were pretty nice, for the most part, and were clearly made for presentation, but the water and the layout were pretty bland. When compared to the last tournament, nothing felt different or unique about this tournament, aside from the aforementioned American Ninja Warrior Roblox. Overall, despite its shortcomings, I still enjoyed this tournament. Coming in at number 12 is Tournament 12, which was filmed in March of 2015. This tournament marked the 2-year anniversary of the course, and was the first tournament of the post-Demon era, following the previous tournament's Kanzen, which also officially retired the Demon. This was also the same tournament in which Fluffy Tails 2011 became the official graphics artist of the show of his own accord. A majority of the graphics featured in this tournament and so on were done by him. This was also the beginning of Aussie Bro's Stage 1 clear streak, which would also see him rise up to becoming an all-star and one of the best competitors of this course, and officially get nicknamed the Speed Demon. No relation to the course's demon, but we'll get back to that. And one of my personal favorite feats, the last man standing finishing in first place, with that very same competitor becoming the first person to defeat the newest incarnation of the cliffhanger, that person being Faripu. The only things I didn't like about this tournament was it was so close to being the 4th bloodbath tournament of the course, as Stage 2 took out all but one competitor, with the only competitor clearing Stage 2 that tournament was the last man standing Faripu. Which, while that was nice, would have been better if more competitors at least got past the Cannonball Alley. In Stage 2 of Tournament 12, competitors who got past the Triple Salmon Ladder would then go out on Cannonball Alley. While I'm on the subject, I want to mention that this was also the tournament in which the Triple Salmon Ladder made its debut to the course, which was later turned into the Crisscross Salmon Ladder, but that's irrelevant, so I don't know why I decided to bring it up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, cough, cough. Anyway, the later obstacles of Stage 2 looked too easy by comparison, and whether they were or not, kind of killed the excitement of Faripu clearing Stage 2, at least for me. One last thing I didn't like about this tournament was it ended the Stage 1 clear streak of Dr. PP. Of course, the cons of this tournament don't outweigh the pros of this tournament. Not even close. This was still a good tournament in my opinion. In at number 11 is Tournament 4, which was filmed in June 2013. This was the first tournament to have a course renewal following the 4 total victories from the previous tournament. This is also where I got more competitors in a single tournament than in the first 3 tournaments. This was also where I put more effort into the designs of the obstacles, the layout, the background, and the waiting lobby. Oh, and it was a tournament that had the last man standing finishing in first place. Also, All-Star Reality Pales was the first member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clears Club. I just made that up. Bite me. Now for the cons. It didn't feel like a complete course renewal, as half the obstacles were just bugged versions of what they were in the previous tournament, and some people decided to play a little game of seeing who can get out of the lobby area, which at least inspired me to try even harder for the next tournament. And even though there were more competitors in this tournament, it was still an odd number at 64. What I mean is that 64 isn't exactly an odd number, but you know, it's still strange that it's not like ending 5s and 0s or whatever. Anyway, only 2 of the competitors who cleared Stage 1 made it to Stage 3. This also had a very bad camera view from the top of the salmon ladder during certain runs, since I didn't bother to input a fly command to the course during day 1 of filming. And even though I liked the first place finishers being the last man standing, the result was another Kanzen, which wouldn't be so bad if this tournament was a renewal tournament. So I basically had a Kanzen in back-to-back tournaments, which I'm blaming on me for not putting enough effort into this so-called renewal. That said, I still enjoyed this tournament. Despite there being more cons and less pros this tournament than in Tournament 12, I still liked filming for this tournament more than in Tournament 12, as strange as it sounds. We're halfway done with the list, and now things start to get more interesting. At least I hope. Starting with the next tournament on this list, Tournament 18, which was filmed in April 2017. Prior to this tournament, I hosted a little contest where people built their own qualifying course, and the top 5 would not only get a shout out and a top spot for the actual tournament, but also get to host their qualifying course as the Tournament 18 qualifiers, since this was around the time I was getting tired of hosting them myself, plus it was the first tournament to be hosted on the new Roblox terrain. So I figured it would be nice to kick off the new terrain era with more qualifying courses to compete on. As for the actual tournament itself, I'd say it was a pretty good first tournament to be hosted on the new terrain. It was a complete course makeover, and had a fair amount of Stage 1 and Stage 2 clears, with all the All-Stars except one clearing Stage 1. It featured the return of NWoR Roblox Versus, and the last man standing finishing in first place. And it was also the first tournament to be one whole tournament video, distancing from the episode format. The only things I didn't like about this tournament was, once again, only one competitor got to attempt the Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger, and failed it, and it was a very odd last man standing, but not entirely out of place. So overall, pretty good pros, very few cons, fun tournament in general. Taking the number 9 spot is Tournament 10, which was filmed in August 2014. It was the special 10th anniversary tournament, and the only tournament in which its stages 1 and 2 would feature the ninja killers from the past tournaments. Since tournaments 8 and 9 were major letdowns, I wanted to create a tournament that would hopefully be more exciting, especially since this was the 10th tournament of the course, and this is what I came up with. Thankfully, there are more Stage 1 clears, even though it was the same amount as the Stage 1 clears from tournaments 8 and 9 combined, but that's not all. The undefeated Elevating Steeples were finally defeated, and by 3 competitors no less, and we finally got to see Stage 3 of the Demon's Revenge era for the first time. It was also the beginning of Faripu's Stage 1 clear streak, and it was yet another tournament where the last man standing finished in first place. Now, what was bad about this tournament? Well, for one thing, the fly command was broken at the time, so I had to film on the ground, which made it difficult to see how certain jumps were done to determine a fail, which also reduced me to having to resort to using the spectate command to record the Stage 2 runs. This was the original retirement run of former star Dusklord 10, and both the returning Step Pillar and Hanging Orbs did the most damage in Stage 1. And they were the first 2 obstacles of Stage 1, which, while it made for less editing work, gave me Tournament 8 vibes, which is never a good thing. In fact, only 31 competitors saw past the Hanging Orbs. So while this special tournament didn't quite turn out as special as I wanted it, it was still, for the most part, a successful tournament in my opinion. Plus, it was just a breath of fresh air for a change of scenery. Coming in at number 8 is Tournament 2, which was filmed in April 2013. I don't have a whole lot to say about this tournament, except it was a lot bigger than I expected, what with having 45 people attending the course, and a reasonable Stage 1 and Stage 2 clear rate. It was also the debut tournament of Ninja Legend Ninja Warrior G4, and the former Roblox Ninja Warrior guy, Fluffy Tails 2011. Also, the tournament didn't end at the Hanging Orbs, like in the tournament before, but at the last obstacle. So, pretty good tournament. The only bad things I had to say about this tournament was, well, I said in this entry that there were 45 competitors, while in the tournament premiere video, I said there were 44. Well, the truth about that is,
I lied.
There were actually 45 competitors that tournament, and that missing competitor, whose name I don't remember because it was lost to time and the run is forever gone, ended up clearing Stage 1. Thus, there were 11 Stage 1 clears as opposed to 10. However, that competitor never showed up to run Stage 2, and thus at the time I decided to cut that competitor from the broadcast and pretend it never happened. I would at least prevent making that mistake again when it happened in Tournament 8, but at the time I didn't know better. Looking back, I wish I had thought of adding it into the broadcast and simply said they didn't show up to run Stage 2. Also, say what you want about my editing and commentary today, but I will admit that my editing and commentary in early 2013 was definitely garbage, especially compared to my editing and commentary in the later tournaments. Other than those problems, this was still a good tournament to me. Now in at number 7 is Tournament 13, which was filmed in June 2015. Nothing too special regarding the Stage 1 clears, as there were 12, and Faripu became the newest member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clears Club. But as for Stage 2, only 4 stars, whether they were Rising Stars, New Stars, or All Stars, cleared Stage 1, and Stage 3 consisted of only those 4 stars. Yes, that's a pro. Deal with it. Not to mention, it was the debut of Ninja Warrior Roblox Versus. Granted, the whole event was a 1v1, but I digress. Plus, this was the tournament where I started receiving help with management. Well, to be more precise, this was the first tournament where I got into Skype calls during filming, and this was before Discord became popular. This was also the first tournament where I began accepting fan obstacle submissions for the course, namely the Flying Chute by Faripu and the Double Rumbling Dice by Reality Pales. As for the cons, well, the competitors who got past the first half of Stage 2 made the second half look too easy. They might have been, but regardless. Only one competitor went out on the second half of Stage 2, and that was Aussie Bro. And there was quite the shocking disqualification by the last man standing, which in my opinion is not an ideal way to end a tournament. But he was second to last in the run order, so I had to go with it. That's about it, really. Still an enjoyable tournament. Coming in at number 6 is Tournament 11, which was filmed in December of 2014. This was my first Christmas-themed tournament, and the setup for stages 1 and 2 were basically a combination of the killer obstacles from tournaments 9 and 10, retaining obstacles such as the step pillar, the hanging orbs, the slippery twin slants, and the dancing stones, just to name a few. Now before I get to the pros of this tournament, I'm first going to talk about what I thought to be bad about this tournament. 1. The lack of effort on the intro. I mean, it was just a blank screen with moving snowflakes with the Windows 95 startup sound. Plus, I was playing both versions of the Guile theme during the title sequence, proving that Guile's theme does not go well with everything, despite what the rest of the internet might have to say. 2. A Stage 1 clear by one of the most cringy usernames I've ever seen. 3. Only one competitor cleared Stage 2, and by a tenth of a second, no less. You can't clear a stage any slower than that, unless you're Brent Steffensen, supposedly. Plus, this tournament ended anticlimactically. Like, after that one competitor ended up winning, the tournament just ended. Like, no celebration, no little party, no interview, nothing. Like, just a clear, and then the credits roll. That's it. What a way to end the year, am I right? Which brings me to what I liked about this tournament. That one competitor who cleared Stage 2 ended up clearing Stage 3 and achieving total victory. So it was basically another last man standing win, which is one of my personal favorite tropes, if you haven't figured that out by now. Plus, it was nice to see more competitors clear Stage 1 this tournament.
Besides that one.
Since there were very few Stage 1 clears in the previous 3 tournaments. Also, this tournament featured the best run ever on this course, and it was the official retirement of the Demon. So overall, despite its flaws, this tournament was still a major success to me. "15 down, 5 to go. Taking the number 5 spot is Tournament 7. I'll get to the filming dates in just a second. For those who were around during Tournament 7, might still remember the story regarding the filming dates. For everyone else, prepare yourselves for a little, quote-unquote, fun fact. This tournament was originally filmed in October 2013, and was the original first Halloween-themed tournament. I have no recollection on how many cleared stages 1, 2, and 3, but I do remember that originally 2 competitors achieved total victory this tournament. Those being CG10 and Aussie Bro. So why wasn't this version shown? Well, in November or December of 2013, can't remember when exactly, but just sometime after the original filming for Tournament 7, my old laptop, which contained the runs for the first 7 tournaments, got fried, and instead of moving my files from the older laptop to my newer one at the time, I had to start over from scratch. And the original Tournament 7 never got to see the light of day on YouTube. Sometime after I got my new laptop, I made a poll where I asked people if they wanted me to restart the tournament or make a short text video explaining the result of the original tournament. And surprisingly, a majority of people chose the former. Presumably because most of them wanted a second chance at clearing Stage 1 at that tournament. For some reason. So anyway, the remake was filmed in January 2014, and would end up becoming the first tournament of 2014. This would also be the first tournament to have qualifiers, since I was getting more than 100 attempts per tournament at that time, so I kind of needed to trim the fat, so to speak. And this would also be the first tournament where I gave competitors only one attempt at the course, as opposed to 2 attempts like I did in the first 6 tournaments. I'll get to why I did that in a minute. But first, the results. 26 competitors would clear Stage 1, which to this day is still the all-time Stage 1 clear record. And if you think that's a big number, it still is, but the original Tournament 7 had more than 30 Stage 1 clears. That much I remember. And this would also be the tournament where Dusklord 10 became the 3rd ever member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clears Club. As for the rest of the tournament, 11 of those 26 would clear Stage 2, which is still the second most Stage 2 clears in a single tournament, and 4 of those 11 would clear Stage 3, which is still the second most Stage 3 clears in a single tournament. I don't recall if there were more Stage 2 and Stage 3 clears in the original Tournament 7, but either way, that's why I only gave one attempt at the course going forward. It certainly didn't change the results of Stage 4, as still 2 competitors would achieve total victory, with one of them being Seiju10, so at least he managed to reclaim his victory, but instead of the second competitor being Aussie Bro, it was Reality Pales, thus becoming a 2-time Grand Champion. Before I move on to the next spot on this list, I want to mention that Roblox Ninja legend NWoR G4 competed in the original Tournament 7, but went out on Stage 1, but he didn't return for the remake and was never seen again. Okay, now on to the next one. Coming in at number 4 is Tournament 17, which was filmed in November of 2016. In terms of what this tournament represented, it was the final tournament to be hosted on the old Roblox terrain before moving the course over to the new terrain that is still being used today. It was also the final tournament to be uploaded in the episode format, as I would then upload all future tournaments in their entirety into one big tournament video, like some other people have been doing. And it would be the first tournament where I would sort of use a script. What I mean by that is, in the past, I've always improvised and said things as they came. The only time I actually used any form of script was for the competitor profiles, even if clips that were being played didn't match what I was saying. But starting this tournament, I would only say key things if need be edited into the profiles to match what I was saying about them. As for the competition, it would tie Tournament 3 for the second most Stage 1 clears in a single tournament. Former star Dev1179 returned after initially retiring after Tournament 13, but came back for old time's sake to officially end his career on a much higher note, which he did by clearing Stage 1 for the first time since Tournament 7. All-star Kyle Ninja 3970, who also hadn't cleared Stage 1 since Tournament 7, ended up clearing Stage 1 this tournament. Aussie Bro made his all-star debut in this tournament, and surpassed Faripu in clearing Stage 1 for more consecutive tournaments. And the Mega Incline Crazy Cliffhanger would finally be beaten, and Trust Junction would finally be attempted for the first time ever. My only complaints for this tournament was, Faripu achieved his personal worst performance on the course, and despite the Six Flags being nerfed for this tournament, it continued to be the Stage 3 Ninja Killer, which would later result in it being scrapped heading to the new terrain. Oh, and one more thing. Pain, pain, pain! Pain! But in the end, this was a good tournament to end the old terrain era. Taking the bronze spot is Tournament 20, which was filmed in December of 2017. Besides this being the second Christmas-themed tournament, it also celebrated the 20th anniversary of this course. The new obstacles that were introduced were more appealing to me, and the slight reconstruction of the course included less truss supports that hindered certain performances. This tournament also had superb management, which I'm grateful for, and it also featured the brief return of competitors from the old days, such as Dylan JP1111, Monkey Boy 15, Chubbs, and Superior Okami, just to name a few. Bryce_Bry became the newest member of the 4 consecutive Stage 1 Clear Club, and we saw not one, not 2, but 3 competitors reached the cliffhanger, with 2 of them defeating it, which was the first time since Tournament 14 that more than 1 competitor got to the cliffhanger, let alone defeat it. This was also the tournament where Trust Junction was finally defeated, and we got to see the final obstacle of Stage 3 in action. Granted, both competitors who got there failed the final jump, but it was still nice to see the final obstacle attempted since it's redesigned in Tournament 15 and again in Tournament 18. Speaking of Tournament 18, this tournament matched that tournament's Stage 2 clear count. Now for the bad. Mega Arcade Dude 123 and a 95 Mike both accepted invites to compete in this tournament, but neither showed up to do a run. All-Stars Dr. Peepee and Faripu decided not to compete, the latter of the two stating that because he helped in building the Tournament 20 courts, that he'd have full knowledge on how the obstacles functioned and whatnot, thus giving him an unfair advantage, which would be considered cheating. And while I kind of understand that reasoning, it still would have been nice to see him compete in this special tournament. That said, only 2 All-Stars competed in this tournament, and both of them failed Stage 1. Bringing up the next con being that Aussie Bros' Stage 1 clear streak ended, and it being the first time since Tournament 8 in which not a single star would advance to Stage 2. And it matched Tournament 19 Stage 1 clear count. Yes, that's a con now. Just because. And last but not least, this tournament was very competitor profile heavy. No tournament before this one had any more than 9 fluff pieces. Most likely less than that. But this one had 12. On the 12th day of Christmas, Bubba escaped to you. 12 fluff pieces, 11 rolling boulder fails, 10 Stage 1 clears, 9 tournaments of Triple Salmon Ladder has existed, 8 invited competitors, 7 tournament cons, 6 Beam Trenches wins, 5 Stage 1 time-ups, 4 Stage 2 clears, 3 cliffhanger attempts, 2 spots left on this list, and the silver medal for this list. Going to Tournament 6, which was filmed in August 2013. In terms of recording this tournament and the competitor results, this felt more like a real tournament. Like it wasn't too deep into the tournament when people began clearing Stage 1, similar to Tournament 20. Almost every obstacle in Stage 1, aside from the faulty Hedgehog and Great Wall, took out a fair amount of competitors, with the Step Pillar and Tarzan ropes doing the most damage. This was mainly an all-star tournament, with all but 3 of them clearing Stage 1. And Stage 2 did its part with leveling the playing field, except for the first 3 obstacles in which no one failed those. And only the best of the best at the time could handle Stage 2. Dusklord 10 would become a new star heading into the next tournament. Reality Pales and NWoR G4 would both go out on the cliffhanger. So yeah, for the first time in this course's run, this actually felt more like a well-balanced tournament for me. But it wasn't perfect. For 2 of those 3 All-Stars who failed Stage 1, one of them would never compete again after this tournament, and the other one saw their Stage 1 clear streak end. This tournament would also inadvertently mark the end of Roblox Ninja Legend Ninja Warrior G4. But regardless of all of that, this was a fun tournament to film, and an even more fun tournament to edit. Coming in at number 1, taking home the gold, and being my most personal favorite tournament of all time, is Tournament 14, which was filmed in October 2015. Much like Tournament 6, this felt a lot like a real, well-balanced tournament in terms of filming and competitor results. While it wasn't as much of an all-star tournament as Tournament 6, as the rate of Stage 1 clears was rather mixed, it saw more top competitors clearing Stage 2. And some of my favorite moments ever on this course were seen in this tournament. Faripu became the first competitor in Ninja Warrior Roblox history to clear Stage 1 for 5 consecutive tournaments, and he achieved a new personal best, which is still his personal best today. And for a second consecutive tournament, Reality Pales reached the final obstacle of Stage 3 before going out on it for a second consecutive tournament. And veteran Look1456 became the first competitor to reach the new version of the final stage, which today is the current version of the final stage, and so far he's the only competitor to reach this stage in this era. While I can't say it was as fun to edit this tournament as Tournament 6, it was still a lot of fun. But recording this tournament was my favorite, and much better than in Tournament 6. As for the cons, I only have 3 problems with this tournament, and none of them are that big a deal. The least of the 3 being the debut of the Six Flags. Although I would have never predicted this would end up being one of the most, if not the most, despised obstacle of Stage 3 of all time, as on its first appearance, it only eliminated 1 of the 6 competitors who attempted it. Only 1! Con number 2, it was the first tournament to exceed the 100 competitor limit, although my defense for that is, I had an uneven number of competitors heading into this tournament, as I had a total of 1,068 attempts on this course heading into this tournament, so I wanted to balance that out as well, and the only fair way to do that was to go beyond 100, starting with having 110 competitors for this tournament and the next, and then 103 competitors for tournaments 16 through 19. Then I would have an even 1,700 attempts heading into tournament 20. And finally, my last con, there was a pretty bad recording of the final stage attempt. For starters, the flight command I used at the time wouldn't allow me to fly straight up, so I had to have my avatar look up in order to fly up, and God forbid I dare not use the spectator command. Second, you can tell I zoomed into Look's avatar a little too closely because I never bothered to turn off the list of people in the lobby and even the chat. And I didn't want any of that shown in the video during the final stage attempt. Surely it never came across my mind to blur them out. But at the end of the day, all that did was lead to a pretty bad view of Look's final stage attempt. So those are the reasons. Not excuses, but they're reasons. Saying that, I guess that was kind of a big deal for me. Oh well, none of that ruins the tournament for me, and I still stand by my decision on this being the best Ninja Warrior of Roblox tournament. So there you have it. What did you guys think? Are there tournaments you liked or disliked more than others? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, because I would love to have discussions regarding this with you all. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you leave a like, and don't forget to share this video so others can enjoy it just like you did. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified on future uploads, whether that be all or occasional ones. And if you want a chance to compete in a future tournament, then join the official Ninja Warrior Roblox Discord server. Link is in the description. Also, if you'd like, you can support me on Patreon to help keep this channel alive. Want to check out some of my other videos, then click one of those boxes on the screen, or that white rectangle on the top right specifically for Ninja Warrior Roblox related content. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Until next time, ciao peoples.